Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my top 10 list for the top 10 moments from the Nintendo Direct of E3 2019. Of course, these are my top 10 moments. Of course, yours might be very different. I assume they will be very much because I always have very different opinions compared to most people as far as like classic franchises and things like that, especially when it comes to Nintendo. I tend to be more for like their third party stuff rather than their first party stuff. So typically when they have announcements, I'm more like, oh, let's see what happens outside of Smash Brothers. It's more like, what third party stuff do they have? So I got my top 10. Initially it was going to be a top 5, then I realized I had so much stuff. I was like, oh, I can just make a top 10, and I got 2 honorable mentions. But starting off with number 10, it's the Mario Sonic Olympics 2020. It was just like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I didn't think about it. I've never played any of those games. I have no interest to play them, but it slightly caught my interest because I was just kind of surprised I didn't think anything of it. Plus, they seem to have like this little 16-bit mode where they like change the graphics. They only showed it for like a split second, and I haven't looked up any demos or interviews or anything like that to see if they show that off more. So I haven't seen anything else of that, but I was like, that at least interests me. I'd love to at least see that on YouTube. If somebody does a Let's Play of it, I might check it out just to be like, how does that change, the mechanics of the gameplay? Because it's, it switches from a 3-dimensional game to a 2D game. I was like, well, I would kind of at least like to see that element. So I thought that was kind of cool. Maybe that applies to every game. I would assume it does. But I thought that was pretty sweet. I was like, I like that idea. For the specific one they show with the hurdles, that would be the exact same thing. You would just be button mashing and then you would just jump in time. But there are some games like they show where they're like, fighting in Taekwondo and stuff like that. So I was like, are all of those that way? Or, would we be going back to like old school Nintendo, Kung Fu on the Nintendo type stuff when it goes into 2D mode? So it had me curious. I was like, all right, that's at least something. I'd like to at least look at that. But I still know myself. I'm never going to buy that game. But I was like, okay, at least that can be number 10. So I thought that was fine. Number 9, and this is right where it gets to the part where my list is totally different than everyone else's. It's Link's Awakening. I'm not going to get the game, but it looks cool. I think it looks nice. I think it looks very nice. Actually, it looks super pretty. Characters look super cute. I've seen the amiibo for Link. It just looks cute. Like it's a cute looking game. The graphics look insane because of course it's an old Super Nintendo game and they did it up. It's in full 3D now. And there's just a lot to it. Like, it just looks really good. You can make your own dungeons now based on stuff that you unlock throughout the game. So I thought that was a super cool mechanic to, add in. But, yeah, I was just like, that's nice. I'll still never buy it. I'll still never play that game. I just don't care. But it looked cool. And that at least entertained me a bit more than the Mario Sonic thing. So I was just like, okay, Link's Awakening remake. We knew it was coming out, but we got more info on it. I don't remember if they did an official release date. Like, I actually watched it on Tuesday, so like it took me a minute to finally sit down and just do this video. But either way, I guess it doesn't matter for me at least if they did do a release date or not. But it was like, okay, got to see some more stuff, and it definitely looks entertaining. So I was like, all right. Once again, it's like these slight little things that kind of catch my attention, and it's just like, I know I won't get it, but it definitely caught my attention more than Mario Sonic. Like, it's really not much for me when it comes to those games. It's just like, cool. Some of them catch my attention, like Breath of the Wild. I don't have a Switch yet, but I'm getting Breath of the Wild. Like that one, I was like, I gotta get that game. I have Twilight Princess HD on the Wii U, so it was like, those are really the only 2 so far where it's been like, I have to get that. I don't have a 3DS or anything like that, so I wouldn't get any of the other remakes. I don't have like any of the handheld consoles. I haven't had one since, Game Boy Advance. So all the other ones that may have come out remade and stuff like that is like, if they were on console, I probably would have done it, but they weren't, or they were probably on the eShop if they were, and I just never ended up getting them. But for that sort of thing, I was like, okay, seems cool. I just know me. Like I love The Legend of Zelda as a whole. Link used to be my favorite when it came to Smash Brothers, and that was always like the most I ever saw of Zelda and Link was because of Smash Brothers. So that's just how it's always been for me. I have. I think I technically only have 2 games. I have the original with the gold cartridge on Nintendo, and then I have Twilight Princess HD. And technically, I still haven't even played Twilight Princess HD. I bought it on Black Friday because it came with the Wolf Link amiibo. That's literally it wasn't the only reason. I wanted the game. I always wanted it for the Wii, but I never got it. So I wanted it, but I haven't played it. I just wanted the Wolf Link amiibo. I was like, I can't pass this up. It's so cheap. So I got both, and still haven't even touched the game. Haven't played the original in a super long time. I at least played that one. Haven't even touched Twilight Princess. But that's my history with The Legend of Zelda. Mostly Smash Brothers. Probably like most people when you really think about it, because most people probably don't even know what most of the characters in Smash Brothers are even from. I at least got that. But moving on from number 8 and my super rambling on how I haven't played a super famous franchise, we have number 8, which is Daemon X Machina. There wasn't much actually shown at the press conference itself, but I did watch one of the Treehouse events, because that's one of the big things with Nintendo is that you can watch the direct and it'll be like, oh, it's mostly for announcements, I feel, than anything else, because they'll be like, yep, we totally got like half the games they show off. They'll be like, yeah, if you just watch the Nintendo Direct, you'll get like 18% more content. And like you just get way more. They'll do like 30 minutes on a game. So I saw a little bit more of this after the actual Direct itself. So in the Direct, it didn't really catch much of my attention. Like, I thought the games looked super cool when they first announced it. I'm pretty sure last year. So it got a release date, which is cool. But seeing it like in some of the Treehouse stuff, it's got 4-player co-op. They have like, they show off like the moves and then fighting bosses and stuff like that. And it always looked entertaining. I was like, I personally like mech games. I know that for some people that it's just like people just don't like mech stuff, which I never understood myself. But I always like mech games, so I was totally fine with it. I think it looks really entertaining. I like the cel shaded art style, which always helps because it's like, when you have a style like that, kind of Borderlands style, you can have it, the game, the style of the game, at least the visuals, it just lasts forever when it's that sort of comic booky look to it. So that was a nice little touch, and I was like, all right, I think the style looks cool. It seems like it'll be entertaining. You fight within cities. The stuff that I saw during the Treehouse, they were fighting like a giant mech, pretty much in like an open field. It seemed like the whole level was basically just one boss battle. But from the content I've seen so far, I'm excited for that game, and that'll probably be one of the first ones that I pick up. Once again, suck on all the release dates because I can't remember any of the stuff except for Astral Chain, which comes out in August because that also got a release date. But I think that'll be one of the first ones I pick up when I eventually end up getting myself a Switch. But I thought it looked cool, and like I said, it's mostly what I saw at the Treehouse, because during the actual thing, I kind of forgot it was even there, and then it was like, oh, the Treehouse stuff was awesome because I got to see 4-player co-op and see them use different abilities and show this and show that, and I was like, well, that's super cool. So it's one of those things where it's like you kind of have to combine some stuff in. So I guess for the Direct itself, if you're being super technical about it, I probably put that below Link's Awakening, because Link's Awakening caught my attention a little bit more than that. But as a whole, from what I saw, including the Treehouse stuff, Daemon X Machina got number 8 for me. So moving on to number 7, it's actually getting to the Smash Brothers stuff, but it's not Banjo-Kazooie. It is specifically the Dragon Quest characters, the heroes for Smash Brothers. So that I thought was cool. And they started off at the beginning. It's like, all right, who's going to be this character? What's going on? All these people are fighting against Link and stuff. I also thought that was going to be some new story element because it seemed like the evil versions of characters. And I was like, what's happening here? I think that's just related to a level, because when I watched the trailer again, I was like, oh, you see like stuff in the background for like the Dragon Quest stages, and the characters have like dark modes and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, it was mostly because of the level. I thought it was like they were doing some cool new story thing. I was like, oh, that had nothing to do with anything. And then when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, something to do with the level. It probably affects your character, stage hazards and stuff like that. It's probably more like poison or something. But I was like, okay, Dragon Quest character. It honestly, it didn't do anything for me. I was just like, I don't care. I've never played Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest has been that game drawn by the dude who made Dragon Ball Z. Like, that is what Dragon Quest is to me. It's like the game where everyone looks like Goku. Obviously not everyone, but I think the first main character definitely looks like Goku. Same with Chrono Trigger, except the dude's hair was orange. That was all Dragon Quest ever was to me. It was like, oh, it's that game where it's Akira Toriyama does the artwork. And that was it. That's all it's ever been to me. That's still what it's gonna be to me, even though the character is in Smash Brothers. But I still thought it was entertaining. We got to see the new character. And then it was like, surprise, it's all the main characters, or at least a bunch of them, because, well, actually, yeah, it might be all of them, because I think there are only 5 Dragon Quest games, or, with 5 separate characters at least. So I did think that was cool, because I was like, all right, if they're going to be the shadow or the different costumes, because they don't say anything where it's like, oh, these are copy fighters, so they all have slightly different moves. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong unless there's something else, like unless they did something at a Treehouse event. I'm pretty sure those are just strictly costume. I think it's going to be like the Koopa stuff, where it's like it's strictly costume related. None of the moves change in any way, shape, or form, but the characters look 100% different, which I'm totally fine with. I don't think they have to have different moves. That would be cool. If they were all like shadows of each other, I'd be totally fine with that. Where it's like some characters have this magic, and that would be a huge difference compared to a lot of other copy characters. It'd be like, this character has this magic, this character doesn't have this magic, and they show that in the trailer where it's like, oh, this person does this person does that. Not playing Dragon Quest, I don't know if those specific characters are more well known for utilizing those moves, but I just assumed that was an across the board, franchise magic type deal. So could be wrong. They could have more info on that, and I just haven't seen it yet. But from the trailer, I just assumed like, oh, they're just showing the different costumes using the different powers, but that's not specifically related to each hero, from the different games. But I thought that was cool for sure, because I was like, all right, we've had tons of characters come in. Bayonetta, I think, is a great example where they'll have a character where they could totally do a different costume, but they don't. Like, and oddly enough, I think Bayonetta's the only person they've done that with, where she came out and it was like she should have a different costume. And it's for people who don't play Bayonetta, her red costume that she has, that's an alternate where she has like the platinum hair. That's her color scheme of her friend from the Bayonetta franchise. And I was always like, why didn't they just change it and make her the character during that, just in that one costume, and then all the other ones are just, Jean, or just Bayonetta in the different colors. And it just always confused me. I was like, that one costume could have just been Jean and it would have been super simple, but they just didn't do it. And I always thought that was weird because Cloud has his stuff. He has, Final Fantasy VII, then he has the Advent Children one. Obviously the Koopalings have like, all of them have different costumes. The Villager has all the different looks and stuff. And I was always like, somehow they just didn't bother to do it for Bayonetta. They did the whole color scheme, but they didn't just like change the face and the hair and make it long. And I just thought that was so weird. But I think she's the only person where they don't actually change like the full costume. But I'm assuming that's what they did for the Dragon Quest character. So that, admittedly, that caught my attention more than the actual reveal. Like, surprise, Dragon Quest. I was like, meh. And then it was like, surprise, it's all the 5 characters. You can make them look like, whichever character you like from whichever game. So I was like, okay, that's at least something. I thought that was pretty cool. And I assume, because it's 8 costumes, or 8 different color schemes for the characters in Smash. So I think maybe 2 or 3 of them will have alternates. It will probably be the most recent one. And I would assume the very original will probably get like the other additional colors. But I thought that was cool. But that's why it's only number 7 for me. Moving on to number 6, it's actually Luigi's Mansion 3. Much like with Legend of Zelda, just less in the forefront for me. I've never played Luigi's Mansion. I think I may have played a demo, and that's it. So it's never really caught my attention that much, but it looked really good. I will definitely say that. I was like, I don't think I've ever looked at the game, looked at any of the Mansion games and been like, that just looks really entertaining. But this one did. I was like, okay, the story seems cool. Like, everyone's together in the game. Like, I think I don't remember the story at all for the second one, but I know for the first one, it's Luigi, looking for Mario. But this is like, everyone's at the mansion, so there are a lot of concepts that people have thrown out, like, are we going to see like goo versions of the other characters, maybe as enemies and stuff like that. So I was like, that's actually a really cool concept. And then they showed off the new moves where you like slam the ghost. He had like the jetpack thing where it, like, shoots a burst out of the ground, which totally looked like he farted, which I thought was funny. And I wasn't the only person that thought that, because I was watching some other people and they're like, did you just fart? So that was funny. But they show the different moves. All the different floors of the hotel have different aesthetics and themes. So I was like, well, that's definitely entertaining. Obviously, the graphics look insane. You can do 2-player co-op with the Gooigi thing. You can do 8-player co-op if you do the crazy ghost run thing, where you have 4 Luigis and 4 Gooigis all teamed up. So you have 8-player co-op if you want. So a lot of that was like, man, that actually does seem really cool. And it just really caught my attention. So I don't know if with this game coming out, they're going to be like, surprise, we're releasing them on the Nintendo eShop, 1 and 2. I doubt they would do remasters of them, but that would be cool too. It'd probably get me to buy them actually. But I feel like those are going to be coming to the eShop if they're not already there. Of course, I don't have a Switch. I don't check, so I have no idea. But Luigi's Mansion 3 definitely looked entertaining. I was like, man, the graphics look really good. The new moves look pretty cool. You can, save each other during like the co-op stuff, where like someone opened up like a trap door and it smashed them into the wall. So someone else had to use like the plunger suction cup move to pull the door back and rescue their friend. I was like, that's a lot of, there's a lot of cool, interesting mechanics there. The Gooigi stuff, you're walking over spikes. You got to be careful of water because you'll get sucked down the drain, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I like how this works. I like, what they were showing off there. So that, even though I've never played the franchise, it's never really been that big of a deal to me. Like, the most exposure has been Smash Brothers because of the, Luigi's Mansion, the Dark Mansion stage. But just everything they did with the reveal, I was like, this looks really good. And it's hard for me to say that I won't just pick this one up. Like, I might have to pick up the first 2 because I'm just that type of person who's like, I just want to have all of them. But I was like, man, even though I've never given a crap, it caught my attention for sure. So that's why that starts to, peak hidden towards number 5. But for me, moving on to number 5 is actually Cadence of Hyrule, which is a crazy thing to have above like the actual Legend of Zelda remake. I understand that, but for me, it was just like, I don't know. It was cute, and it was like you fight to the music, and the music was like rearranged, No, that's not even. Composements isn't even a word. Rearranged songs, I guess. But it just was cool to me. It was so simple and so weird. The character looked like Roll from Mega Man. I'm sure I'm not the only person that thought that. Because as soon as she got up, I was like, I know this isn't Mega Man because I hear the Legend of Zelda music in the background. But I was like, it took me a second. I was like, who does she look like? And I was like, she looks like Roll from Mega Man. Like, she's wearing red. She's got the blonde hair. And I was like, that's Roll from Mega Man, but I'm hearing Legend of Zelda music. So I was like, when it first started, I was a little confused, and I was like, okay, this is just like a totally different thing. So I was like, all right, it's interesting. I like how it seems to play out. I'm not 100% sure I'm actually going to end up getting that game. I'm probably, admittedly, a bit more likely to get Luigi's Mansion. But as far as like just in the moment, the announcement itself, I was more excited for the Cadence of Hyrule because I was like, it just seemed like such a cool concept. Like I hadn't heard of the original game before, so I wasn't familiar with it. So it was like a totally brand new concept compared to anyone who was like, oh, I played, it was like Crypt of the Necromancer or something like that. And it was like, I'd never even heard of that game before. So I was like, okay, for me, this was 100% brand new. Because even in the trailer, I was like, oh, so this is a game that has like almost an update, but it's technically like the second version of the game. But I was like, I like it. I just like the concept of it. I thought the music was good, having that rearrangement. So I just thought it was cool. And you fight to the beat. So it's like a beat rhythm action Legend of Zelda game. And I was just like, that's cool. Something about it just caught my attention a lot, and I was like, that seems like that seems perfect for the Switch. If anything, that seems like the perfect pick up and play type game. Plus, you get like the music element, you get the gameplay element. It's like cool. Did that for about 10-15 minutes. All right, I can skip it or I can keep on keeping on. So thought that was a good one, and that's why it started to it just really caught my attention. So that's my number 5. But moving on to number 4 is a game that. So for the announcements, it's at number 4, but out of everything at the conference, it's my number 1 game. Like it's at least right now. It's hard to say. Like there's another one in here that might it's got some competition, but for now, it's like my number 1 game. So number 4 for me is Astral Chain. That's due to the fact that it's Platinum Games. I love Bayonetta like crazy. Pretty much anything Shinji Mikami does is like number 1 for me. That's why when he came on at the Bethesda thing, I was like, I don't need to see what they're talking about because I'm going to buy the game. So I'm super excited for Ghostwire Tokyo. But Shinji Mikami, Platinum Games, they did, Bayonetta, I can't even Nier Automata, like just those 2 games in general, or technically 3, Bayonetta 1 and 2. But just those games, I'm just like, man, I can't wait to see what they do with this. Once again, with that, I saw some more content at the Treehouse event, and it was good. I didn't even realize this, but apparently you can actually customize your character. I had no idea. I just assumed you pick the characters. I didn't even know you got to pick. I just thought that was how the story played out, where it was like maybe you switch back and forth. But the characters that you see in the trailer are actually twins. So it's a man and a woman, and you just pick whichever character you want, and then you get to customize them. And I believe they customize, I think it's a lot like Fallout, where whatever you do for your character customization, it changes how the baby is in Fallout. It's the same with this game, where it's like whatever you make for your specific character, their twin matches whatever settings you have, at least skin color and stuff like that. So I was like, well, that's super sweet. So it matches like the hair color and the skin color of the character, and I thought that was cool because I had no idea that was in there because they didn't tout that. It was just like, here are these 2 characters, and I was like, that's fine. You play as them, and they have. I just assumed they were gonna have different moves, but I think they each have the same skills throughout. I could be wrong because I didn't really. Honestly, I was enjoying it so much. I was like, I don't want to know any more about the game. I think I watched half of the stuff for the Nintendo, the Treehouse event that they did because they did like 30 minutes just about. And I was like, I watched them do some action. I watched them do the customization, the opening of the game, and some other sections. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to know anymore. It comes out in August, and as soon as that got the reveal, that was the big thing for me. I was like, crap. I'm probably getting a Switch now because I was waiting for Bayonetta 3 to come out. And I wish they had that. That's my biggest disappointment. I was like, man, I wanted Bayonetta 3 so bad. Even if it didn't get a release date, I wanted to see more Bayonetta 3. So I was really sad that we didn't get to see that. But I was super happy that Astral Chain got a release date. And based on the content that I saw, it looks really good. I love Platinum Games and everything they have done. So I'm super freaking excited. Another game they did was Mad World. I was like, I have other games of theirs. Mad World on the Wii, which I would love it if that got a remake. It won't because that game was not popular at all, which is really sad, but it is amazing if you get to play it. I highly recommend it because it's a cool like black and white, almost like a manga game. The only color in the game is like red, and I think they do yellow sometimes for like some of the action like words and stuff like that. Love the crap out of that game. It was so unique and also super gory and only on the Wii, and it just sadly that was it. Like it was on the Wii, wasn't popular enough, and poof. That's all there was to it. But I would love it if that game got a remake. I just highly doubt it ever will. But that's my number 4, Astral Chain. Number 3 is Legend of Zelda, whatever they're going to call it. I was about to say Breath of the Wild, the sequel, or Breath of the Wild 2. The Breath of the Wild sequel, that was cool. I don't think anyone expected that. I thought when they first showed it, I was like, okay, this is definitely going to be DLC because I mean, for me, I guess because I don't have a Switch, so I don't have any of the games. For me, everything's still only like a year old, but I think that game is like 2 years old now, almost 3. So it was funny to me because I was like, oh, they're doing like a cool DLC. Like in my head, I'm just like, well, the game's still fairly new. It's super old at this point. But I was like, oh, that's super cool. They're gonna do new DLC, and it seems like they're doing like a big expansion on DLC, like a full DLC story chapter. And I was like, that's really cool. And it was like, nope, this is just a whole new game. They already have like cutscenes and stuff. Like they had a full trailer ready to go. So I assume by next year we're getting a trailer. Like well, heck, that was a full-on trailer. I mean, the trailer was in itself fairly decent for the first time we ever saw it. And they had the characters walking around together. They show what happens, a tiny bit on the outside with the castle moving, the crazy red virus thing going around, and it just looked good. I was like, this looks super dark, looks super creepy. I'm excited for that. It's a direct continuation of Breath of the Wild, so that's pretty cool. They haven't done that in a super long time. Technically, I don't think since like the first, the original one, like, and then Legend of Zelda 2 specifically came out. And then after that, the weird branching timelines is like, this game is technically in this timeline, but they don't, it's never like, this is directly this sequel to this. They have to make books about it. And this is just like, nope, Breath of the Wild, this new thing. Which almost is kind of obvious considering the aesthetic of it. And I'm curious how that's going to play out. Like with them doing that aesthetic, are they going to change from that going forward? Or are they sticking with this timeline? That's like a weird amalgamation, because that's been another thing where it's like this fits from this timeline and this fits from this timeline. So even this game itself, or Breath of the Wild, technically doesn't help with all the weird timeline theories and all that stuff. But it looked cool, and I'm very excited for them. I'm curious to see what they do. It's using the same game map as the original game, but of course I'm sure it'll be like the dark version of that. But I was really shocked at the end where it was like, nope, this isn't a really cool DLC that's coming out. It's a brand new game, and it's already in development far enough for them to even have a cutscene and a full-on trailer to show us. So that had me really excited, because I was like, all right, by next year, they're probably going to have at least a release window. I feel like this game will come out in 2 years. I think it's going to be a 2021 game. And if it is late 2020, that would be very interesting. And I mean, considering how much we got to see just this year, if by E3 next year they're like, yep, coming out at the end of the year, I wouldn't be 100% surprised, if I'm being totally honest, just because of the fact that it was the first time they even announced it and they had a full trailer to show off. Like they did that with Metroid 4, and that was just a pure concept, and we saw literally nothing of that either. But I don't know, I thought that was really cool. And I wasn't expecting it, like full-on sequel, so that should be good. Moving on to number 2, we have Banjo-Kazooie and Smash. I never even played Banjo-Kazooie, and I was losing my mind. Like, that's how big of a deal that was. Like, I just know, like, some things are just like, you don't have to play that game. You don't have to be attached as people that actually love the franchise and stuff. Sometimes it's just like, things in the gaming world matter, period. And this is one of those things where it was like, we'll never see that happen. Microsoft is way over there, Nintendo's way over there. That's it. Sadly, it'll just never happen. And then that little puzzle piece just bounced across, and I was like, wow, this is actually about to happen. And it was Banjo-Kazooie. And that blew my freaking mind. It blew everybody's mind. Like, who saw that coming? Like I said, I didn't even play the Banjo-Kazooie games. But that's how important that moment was. I was just like, I was freaking out. And I was like, I don't even play the effing games. I don't even care about the characters like that. It was just a moment that never, like, I just never would have seen coming. It was the same with, like, when Bayonetta happened. But if I thought about that, I would have been like, that's possible. I never would have thought it was possible for Banjo-Kazooie to actually come out and be in Smash Brothers. So that was insane. Like, that's all there was to it. It was just like, that's a huge shot. That's like the number, if it was based on like shocking moments, that would be my number one. Even more than the fact that the Legend of Zelda sequel's coming out. It's just like, surprise, Banjo-Kazooie, fall this year. It was just nuts. I was just like, I can't believe it. That was just crazy. So super excited for that. Glad we got to see, all the moves. We got to see the smash attack and everything like that. So it looked cool. I'm excited to see like what they do with like the other colors for them as well. But that was awesome. That was just insane. Like it was just crazy. So, but of course, before we get to my number one, I do have my 2 honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is the Pokeball support for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I thought that was cool. Nintendo supporting accessories and not being like, yep, you bought that thing, that extra thing just for this game. For either Let's Go, Eevee, or Pikachu. I was like, no, we'll have it. We'll have support. It's not as much. It's just like, you pick one Pokemon and they say something special will happen. So I'm curious if it's going to be the same elements from the Let's Go games, where it's just like you basically just get, I believe it's more affection. I never bought those, so I'm not 100% sure what they do. But it was like, all right, something special will happen. So either they'll level up, or maybe you can unlock like very unique attacks and stuff like that. Especially for like the brand new Pokemon, they might have some of those elements in there where it's like you get unique attacks if you like build up your relationship with the Pokemon. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure it'll be simple, but just the fact that they were like, "Yep, we're gonna keep that support going." That's always good to see. Just game industry wise, it's like it's nice to see companies continue to support stuff that they themselves end up making and charging people money for. So it's like if you bought it, you have another Pokemon game that will actually support that accessory, and I just thought that's good for them to actually do that. The second honorable mention is Resident Evil 5 and 6 are now coming to the Switch, so they have every numbered Resident Evil game except for 7 coming to the Switch. So I thought that was cool. Also, they don't have the original first game or 2 and 3. So they have the remake of 1 and then jump to 4, 5, and 6. So sadly, they're still missing a couple in there, but they got 0, remake, 4, 5, and 6. I'm pretty sure the remake of 2 is on the Switch. I could be mistaken. I don't have a Switch, so I don't really care. So it might be on there. I really don't even remember. But I was like, okay, that's cool for people that want to get those games. Those games, the only thing to compete against Skyrim for releases is Resident Evil now, which I never thought would be a thing. But I mean, Resident Evil 4 has to have come out more times than even Skyrim has, which is crazy when you think about it. But I think Resident Evil 4 has come out like 8 separate times, which is nuts. But it's a fun game. So now they got 5 and 6 added to the roster. So I was like, oh, that's cool for people that are still just not playing my personal favorite franchise that has ever existed in video games. But that's just me. So it was like, it wasn't, that's why it's just an honorable mention. It's like, oh, that's cool that they're doing that. I thought they would do something different. Sadly, that was not the case. They didn't be like, surprise, another Chronicles game, which I would have lost my mind if they did that. I don't know what they could possibly do. It would literally be it would be 5 and 6 and 7, I guess, and it would be weird to do it for 7 because 7 is already first person. It would just make it an on rails version of 7. So it would just be interesting because it's like the game's already first person, and then you just make it on rails, which would probably be super easy now that I think about it. But I was hoping they would do something new, but it was just a couple goes into a mansion and then they play Resident Evil. And that was pretty much it. They were doing their acting thing and freaking out and stuff, and somehow they were there for like I don't know. They were going through a decent chunk of the game. I was like, oh, they were playing for a minute, but kind of not really. They were still in like the first zombie. Just little stuff I noticed, but they did play as Chris, and I thought that was interesting because I was like, oh, they're showing Chris, and I realized as soon as they showed 5, I was like, that's why they have Chris, because if they showed Jill, it wouldn't make sense to really do that. So it was like, let's have Chris be the character they choose for the Resident Evil remake because we're putting 5 and 6 on there, and Chris is in both those games, and Jill is only in one of those games. I won't say which in case you haven't played. But I was like, oh, that makes sense because Chris is one of the main characters in each game. So I was like, oh, that makes sense now why they have them play as Chris in that. So I that just made sense. It was a little thing, but I was like, cool for people that haven't played. Now you can on the Switch. I would just say get a PlayStation and you can literally get every game. It's a lot easier because you can get the originals. That's just my personal opinion. Just makes it super easy. So those are my 2 honorable mentions. And so moving on to my number 1 moment from the Nintendo E3 press conference of 2019 is No More Heroes 3. Didn't get my Bayonetta 3, but I got No More Heroes 3. And I was like, you know what? Bayonetta's up here, but No More Heroes is like right down there. Super close. I also didn't see it coming. That's why it was my number 1 moment because I was like, oh man, when I think it was last year. It was like, No More Heroes. I was losing my mind. I was like, holy crap, No More Heroes. This is him. This is happening. And then it was like, yeah, it's this thing in the subtitle, and it's just like a hack and slash beat 'em up game. And I was like, no, not this, not like this. And I was so sad because I was like, I thought we were about to get No More Heroes 3. I thought it was finally happening. And it was just an arcade hack and slash game that I don't think got great reviews either. And I was just like, that sucks. I was so excited and I was just disappointed. I was let down. And then this trailer comes out and you can't tell who Travis is because he looks totally different. And also it's a different voice actor, so that kind of sucked. Or it is the same voice actor, he's just older, so he sounds different. But I'm pretty sure it's a totally different voice actor. But he's all scruffy and stuff. He's in the suit, and then they do the 4th of July. Then they make a Star Wars reference. So I was like, all right, well, this already seems kind of funny and cool because he made a Star Wars reference. So I was already like, okay, let's see what you got. And then he transformed and got a mech suit, and I was like, okay, Star Wars mech suit. I'm on board. And then as soon as he did the slash and they had him do the pose, I was like, this is No More Heroes. And I was like, holy crap. And then, of course, he transforms out of it, and somehow he's in, like, his regular outfit, and he's shaving and everything. That might be the actual beginning of the game, and you go through that, and then you do, like, a different section, and he switches clothes. But he's going through, and it's basically the opening of the game, of the original game, because that's, like, one of the things. Like, when he slashes them, I think he says, like, get some, or whatever, and that's, like, the thing that Suda51 does in those games, where he'll say, like, in the first game, he calls them like fuckheads when he chops their heads off. He put it in Lollipop Chainsaw. I think she called the zombies douchebags or something, but they did like the exact same pose and everything because he was referencing No More Heroes. So he did the pose and they blow up in the background and he slices the door like he does in the first game and goes through it. And then he's just talking to us and it's like, are there no more heroes and stuff like that? Like, well, I'm a hero, but I'm also an assassin. He also has a scar, so we'll probably get some little integral content in there between 2 and 3 and what's been going on. We have Sylvia at the end of the game where she's messing around with the cherries, being quite seductive. That's her, that's just her thing. But I was super excited. That's all we got, sadly. But it's on the Switch, which has me so excited because when the Wii U came out, I was like, all right, No More Heroes 3, let's get it. And then nothing was happening. I was like, okay, Nintendo Switch, let's get it. And then I got disappointed by the little arcade version. And then this came out, I was like, yes. We're basically back to Wii, console controls. So you have, the gyroscopes for the Joy-Con. So it's like, yeah, it works. It's back because you couldn't do that in the last one. Technically you could because you could use Wiimotes on the Wii U. So he technically could have done it, but I think he was waiting for something better. So he's waiting for, now we've got like the super enhanced, Wiimotes with the Joy-Cons. And who knows how much control he's going to give because you could do two like 2 beam katanas in No More Heroes 2, but in this third one they might do it where you can literally control them one at a time, like with each hand, and just be doing like this like stupid looking stuff if you want to, I guess. But I was like, all right, No More Heroes 3 is coming out. I cannot wait to see what they do, see how much time has passed, see what characters are going to be in it. I would assume all the returning characters. There's 4 of them. I also won't spoil that. If you haven't played the franchise, I highly recommend it. You can get both games on the Wii. There's a remake of the first game on PS3. Sadly, they didn't end up remaking the sequel. I would love it if they did, and they just ended up putting like all 3 games on the Switch. I would buy them for sure because I kind of wanted the remake of the first game, and I was like, all right, well, if they do a second one, I might do it. I might get both of them, and they just ended up doing it. Plus, it was only on PS3, so it was like you were just using analog controls. And for me, I actually like swinging the Wiimote around. It just felt cool to be like, oh, you hit the button, and then the things come up, and you actually do like the controls, left and right, and suplex and all that stuff. So maybe they'll do that. Maybe they won't. But either way, No More Heroes 3 is coming out, and that is my number 1 moment, and I'm so freaking excited for that game, and I cannot wait to get more content on it. I want a trailer. I want a release date. I want to see some of the assassins you fight. I want to see what the heck is going to happen. Plus, they're fighting aliens now, which is... it's super crazy. I guess it's hard to say. It's like it's almost weird, but at the same time, it's Suda51 and it's No More Heroes. Like the stuff they do in those games is so insane. They're basically aliens anyway. Like some of these people have like weird powers where they fight you inside of your dreams. It's like, well, they aren't normal humans anyway. So them throwing aliens in, I'm almost like, yeah. I'm pretty sure there's a level in the second game where you fight a ghost, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong and don't remember that, but there's a ghost in one of those games for sure. There's just a straight up ghost. So it's like aliens, sure. Like you're fighting a giant mech and go to space in the second game. So it's like aliens, sure. It's not that crazy. It's weird, but it's not like out of the realm of a game considering there's a boss that you kill in the first game who comes back as a robot half a robot in the second game. So sure, No More Heroes 3. I'm excited. But those are my top moments from the Nintendo press conference for this year, of course. I'd love to know what you guys thought about it. Favorite moments, least favorite moments. How would you rearrange my list? What was your list as a whole? What do you wish was there? Like I said, for me, Bayonetta 3, I wish they had it, but I got my other 3 game finally coming out, so I was like, all right, I can handle that. I'm cool. I wasn't as excited as, when Bayonetta 3 was announced, which was, if I'm not mistaken, it was actually at the Game Awards last year. So, it was okay. I wanted more, but I was like, all right, I got No More Heroes 3, so my 2 3s are coming out at some point, and I'm excited for that. But I like what we got. I would have loved to have seen Metroid. That's another franchise where it's like I don't really play the games, but I am curious to see what they end up doing with that. Like if they do anything with it, like they scrapped all of it, so now we've got like nothing to show, I guess, or to see. So that's really unfortunate, but who knows? Who knows when that's going to be happening, and when that franchise is just going to get the revitalization that it really needs after Other M, which is sadly still like the last big thing. Like technically they had the remake on 3DS, but you know, they need to go full on Metroid 4. So I'm looking forward to getting that eventually. So we'll just have to wait, wait and see. It's their big franchise that just has no love whatsoever, it seems. Like Donkey Kong gets stuff every once in a while, and obviously Mario gets a million. Legend of Zelda gets theirs, periodically. And then it goes Donkey Kong, and then after that, Metroid is just like, someday you'll be here, but you're in Smash now. And that's pretty much all she gets. It's really messed up. But like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about the press conference this year. What was good? What was bad? What was missing? If you saw any of the stuff from the Treehouse events, what demos did you guys enjoy? Like, what extra stuff did they not show at the press conference that they probably should have shown off? But all in all, I want to know your thoughts on this, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And, of course, thanks for watching.